Welcome back to Stoic Wisdom TV. Hey there, I'm about to lay something on you that might shake you up a bit. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the kind of truth that can set you free if you let it. Here it is, nobody cares. I mean, nobody cares about you the way you do. Take a second to let that sink in. Nobody is as invested in your life, your dreams, your struggles, or your victories as you are. In the grand scheme of things, most folks don't give a second thought to who you are, where you're at, or what you're doing. They might notice you for a fleeting moment, but then it's gone forgotten in the blink of an eye. We're living in a world that's grown numb, desensitized to the individual stories playing out all around us. But here's the kicker, this isn't some new phenomenon. This is a truth as old as humanity itself. Throughout history, the people who've gotten ahead, who've made something of themselves, are the ones who've focused on their own path, not on what others think of it. You're not entitled to a standing ovation just for showing up. Nobody owes you validation or a pat on the back. And here's the raw reality. No one's coming to rescue you from the weight of your own mind. These are tough truths, no doubt, but they're necessary. We're drowning in a culture obsessed with attention, where people shout into the void of social media, desperate for someone to notice, to care. But let me hit you with some ancient wisdom from the Stoics, those old school philosophers, who knew a thing or two about living with purpose. They'd tell you straight up, nobody owes you a reaction. Nobody's obligated to get your dreams, your pain, or your ambitions. Nobody's responsible for carrying your burdens except you. And yet, right there in that harsh reality, is where your power begins to take shape. The illusion that someone else is going to swoop in and save the day is what keeps so many people stuck. It's the root of resentment, the seed of entitlement, and the thing that paralyzes potential. But when you stop expecting the world to care, something incredible happens. You start taking radical ownership of your life. It's an uncomfortable shift, no question, but it's also where real transformation kicks off. The Stoics didn't live for the approval of others. They lived for the approval of their own reason. It's not about looking wise or virtuous to the crowd, it's about becoming those things in the quiet, whether anyone sees it or not. Peace doesn't come from trying to control the chaos of the outside world. The world is a mess, always has been. People's opinions are fickle, their attention scattered. True peace comes from mastering the one thing you can control, your mind. That's the Stoic way. That's how you stop waiting for life to change and start shaping yourself, no matter what's thrown at you. When you finally get that nobody's watching as closely as you think, the performance stops. And when the performance stops, the real work can begin. I'm talking about the kind of work that isn't curated for likes or filtered for followers. It's the internal grind, the silent strength that builds resilience. It's the kind of effort that doesn't demand attention but earns respect through sheer consistency. This isn't a cold message, even if it sounds harsh at first. It's a liberating one. When you realize that nobody cares the way you thought they did, you stop performing and start becoming. You stop chasing validation and start cultivating your own growth. And when you focus on yourself with discipline, clarity, and purpose, you become unstoppable. You don't just react to life's ups and downs, you respond with grounded conviction. You don't seek to be understood, you seek to understand. And in that shift, you tap into a power that the crowd can never give you, the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, no matter who's watching. Let's dive deeper into one of the biggest traps we fall into, the belief that everyone's watching, judging, and evaluating our every move. This illusion creates a constant undercurrent of anxiety. It makes us hesitate, second-guess ourselves, and strips away our authenticity. It roots us in fear, always wondering, what will they think? The Stoics saw through this nonsense centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, wrote something that cuts right to the heart of it. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. Think about that. Why are we living for an audience that isn't even paying attention? The truth is, your co-workers aren't lying awake at night obsessing over your latest decision. Your old high school buddies aren't tracking your every step. Even your closest friends, the ones who genuinely care, have their own lives full of their own fears, goals, regrets, and battles. They've got limited bandwidth to devote to your journey, just as you've got limited bandwidth for theirs. And yet, So many of us are paralyzed by this imagined gaze. We post on social media, pose for the perfect shot, and pause before every choice, wondering how it'll play to the crowd. We chase likes as if they're love, comments as if they're wisdom, shares as if they're support. But here's the reality check. Most people don't think about you at all. Not for long anyway. They scroll, react for a split second, and move on. Their attention is a fleeting blip. Their opinions are as temporary as a passing breeze. So why are we handing over our sense of self to something so impermanent? Even worse, why do we build our identities based on people who'll forget us by tomorrow? Every time you hesitate, because of what someone might think, you chip away at your own alignment. You turn away from your principles, your path, and your truth. That's the cost of living for an imaginary audience, death of authenticity. But here's where this understanding flips from isolating to liberating. If no one's really watching, then stop acting to impress and start acting to improve. Build yourself not to be seen, but to be solid. Live not for praise, but for peace. The absence of an audience isn't the absence of meaning. It's the beginning of it. It's the space where integrity takes root, where you test your values without anyone looking over your shoulder. This kind of growth isn't flashy. It doesn't come with fireworks or viral posts. It comes with an unshakable center, built through hours of silence effort, and invisible victories that only you know about. When you strip away the noise of external validation, you make room for truth. You stop calibrating your life to fit other people's opinions, and start shaping it by your own principles. In that silence, in that solitude, you discover something powerful. The only voice you need to answer to is your own conscience. It's not the crowd's cheers that echo in your soul. It's your internal dialogue. When the audience disappears, your character speaks louder. Your actions don't need validation. They become extensions of your values, reflections of your inner order. Let that freedom wash over you. Nobody's watching as closely as you thought. That's exactly why you can walk freely now. Move forward without looking over your shoulder. You don't need to be seen to be worthy. The Stoics believed true worth is forged in obscurity. Character is built in the quiet hours, discipline shaped when no one's clapping, nobility earned when no one's handing out medals. Let your actions be guided not by vanity, but by virtue, not by impressions, but by insight. Seneca, another Stoic heavyweight, taught that a wise person is content with themselves, not in stagnation, but in direction. They know where they're headed, and they walk with their eyes on the path, not on the crowd. They move with the steadiness of someone whose values are internal, not swayed by external noise. The crowd shifts, trends come and go, and people's moods rise and fall. But the path of virtue off courage, temperance, and wisdom endures. Walk it with intention, even when it's lonely, especially when it's quiet. Live in a way that would make sense even if no one ever found out what you did. That's the measure of true strength. That's the myth of the audience, undone. That's when your life stops being a performance and starts becoming a principle. Start each day with a simple question. Am I doing this for me or for them? When you make a decision, close your eyes and imagine no one will ever know you did it. Would you still do it? That question cuts through the noise and reveals your truth. Living by it hands you back your power. Let's keep digging into this, because there's more to unpack about why waiting for the world to care holds you back. There's a dangerous belief that creeps into our minds, often without us even noticing. It's the idea that we're owed something, that because we try, we deserve support. Because we hurt, we should get help. Because we exist, we deserve recognition. The Stoics saw right through this myth and dismantled it with brutal clarity. Life owes you nothing. Not happiness, not love, not fairness. And that's exactly what makes it beautiful. In a world with no guarantees, everything you build carries real weight. It means something because you earned it, not because it was handed to you. Expecting something just because you showed up is a trap. It trains you to wait instead of work, to demand instead of develop. When you believe the world owes you comfort or praise, every setback feels like a personal betrayal. Every silence feels like rejection. But Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who started life as a slave and became a master of wisdom, had a different take. He said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." That's not defeatism, it's clarity. It's embracing reality instead of fighting it. The root of suffering isn't pain itself, it's resistance to what is. You can't master what you reject. You can't grow from what you deny. When we cling to the idea that we deserve a different life or a better outcome, we grow bitter. And bitterness is a poison you drink while hoping the world feels sorry for you. Growth comes from accepting that nothing is promised. Not love, not support, not success, not comfort, not justice. Every day is earned, and every breath is a gift. You could have been born in a different time, a different place, with a much tougher hand to play. You could have lost more than you already have. And yet, here you are breathing, thinking, feeling, capable. That's not nothing. That's not ordinary. It's rare, fragile, and powerful. The fact that you're alive with a mind capable of reason is your starting point. The sooner you let go of entitlement, the faster you accelerate your journey. You stop asking life to be fair and start becoming stronger than what's unfair. That's the pivot. That's where personal evolution begins, not when you get what you want, but when you choose who you'll be regardless of what you get. Life isn't a negotiation where effort guarantees results. It's a test of character under uncertainty. The Stoics didn't measure success by outcomes, but by integrity. They believed the true reward of life is becoming the kind of person who stays composed. When nothing goes their way, when nothing is promised, you don't despair, you prepare. You train yourself to build from scratch. You accept the risk of heartbreak, the cost of discipline, the loneliness of leadership, all without demanding applause. You learn to stand sturdy when life gets stormy. Letting go of entitlement doesn't mean becoming cold or cynical. It doesn't mean hardening your heart or closing yourself off. It means stepping into empowerment. It means full accountability. No more waiting for the right time. No more blaming others. No more hoping for rescue. It means saying, no one owes me anything, so I'll build it myself. I'll shape my destiny through the choices I make when no one's watching. That's self-respect in action. It's looking in the mirror and knowing your progress belongs to you, not to your parents, your partner, your past, society, or luck. It's yours. And that truth is both a burden and a blessing. Because if it's up to you, it's also within you. You're the builder, the vessel, the reason. You're the spark that ignites the fire and the hand that shapes the stone. You're the one who must start when no one tells you to and persist when no one cheers. You're the answer to the questions you've been asking, the strength you've searched for, the clarity you've craved, the permission you've waited for. It's all inside you. You've been equipped with everything you need: the reason to start, the courage to continue, the potential to finish. Entitlement waits, ownership moves, and movement is how transformation takes root. When you stop expecting life to hand you what you haven't earned, you gain the freedom to shape yourself without limits. You stop asking for a lighter load and start building a stronger back. Choose movement over waiting. Choose ownership over complaint. Meet life not with a clenched fist full of demands, but with an open mind ready to adapt and a grounded heart steady enough to endure. Choose clarity over confusion, deliberate steps over chaotic noise. The world won't stop to hand you peace. It won't pause to clarify your purpose. That work is yours to do. Peace is something you cultivate, not something you receive. Purpose is something you earn, not something you stumble upon. When you stop waiting, you stop being at the mercy of the storm. You start walking into it with your eyes open. You build shelter where others seek escape. You become the person who finds steadiness in uncertainty. That's the essence of Stoic strength, not fantasy, not dependency, but courageous, deliberate, daily construction of your character. It's what you choose when no one reminds you, what you uphold when no one applauds, what you correct when no one sees. Strength isn't forged in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Act as if no one's coming to save you, because that's the moment you begin to rise. That's when you realize the one you've been waiting for is already here, meets you. You're the lighthouse in your own storm. Your future self is watching. Your past self is counting on you. Let them witness the day you stopped waiting and started becoming. Take a moment to write down 3 things you believe the world owes you. Then cross them out, literally draw a line through each one. Replace them with 3 things you'll earn for yourself. Put that list somewhere you'll see it every day. Let it remind you that you're not waiting, you're working. Let's keep going, because owning your mind is the next step in this journey. The Stoics believed your mind is the only territory you truly own. Not your house, not your job, not your reputation, just your mind. It's the last kingdom of freedom, the final frontier of true sovereignty. And yet, most people abandon it without even realizing. They guard their phones more fiercely than their thoughts. They polish their resumes more carefully than they refine their beliefs. They invest more energy in their outer image than their inner order. But your mind, your thoughts, your reason, your choices is where your power lives. It's where character is built, where freedom is preserved, where every act of discipline, restraint, resilience, and courage begins. Instead of ruling their inner world, most folks rent it out to distractions, public opinion, fear, and trends. They surrender their sovereignty one scroll, one opinion, one emotional outburst at a time. They open the gates of their mental fortress to every passing disturbance, and then wonder why they feel defeated. They're slaves to noise, both external and internal. They consume instead of create. They panic instead of prepare. But Marcus Aurelius had a different approach. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Strength not just in silence, but in command of reaction, of direction, of clarity. You can't control the storm, but you can control the captain. Your mind is the captain. If you abandon that post, you're at the mercy of every wind and wave. But if you claim it, you can steer through anything. When you stop looking outward for peace and start fortifying your inner citadel, everything changes. It's like laying brick on top of brick within your own skull, restructuring your foundation until your emotional world stands unshaken. You start seeing patterns where there was only noise. You start choosing your response instead of rehearsing your reaction. Every thought becomes a stone, every principle a beam of support. Your emotions become tools, not tyrants. Your thoughts become companions, not saboteurs. Your attention becomes a weapon, not a weakness. You stop being pulled by the chaos around you and start moving from an anchored core within. You notice how little control you actually need over the external world. When your internal world is firmly governed, you become less interested in what's trending and more invested in what's timeless. You grow less anxious about people's opinions and more obsessed with your own clarity. You stop chasing stimulation and start building stillness. You become centered, stable, sharp. This kind of ownership is rare because it demands accountability and discomfort. It demands that you stop avoiding yourself and start facing what's inside without filters, excuses, or masks. It requires you to stop seeking distraction and start seeking direction. Distractions feel easier, they're louder, shinier, more instantly gratifying. But they're a mirage. They delay your progress and disguise your power. Direction requires clarity, and clarity requires courage. It requires honesty about what you've let take root in your mind, beliefs, comparisons, and self-deceptions that silently shape your actions. Many of us carry beliefs planted by others, culture, childhood wounds, media narratives. Without awareness, these ideas dictate our choices. Radical ownership means examining those seeds. It requires brutal inner work, the kind where you confront your thoughts not with judgment, but with curiosity and discipline. You become your own mental architect, demolishing old structures and building something stronger in their place. It means sitting in silence long enough to hear the voice beneath the noise. It means asking hard questions without rushing to easy answers. It requires journaling, reflecting, questioning, correcting, and returning to yourself over and over. This isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a daily rhythm of coming home to yourself. No matter how chaotic the world gets, it's not always dramatic. Often it's quiet, repetitive, inconvenient. But it's in those small, invisible moments that greatness takes shape. It asks you to stop blaming, stop complaining, and start building it just once, but every day. Especially when it's boring, especially when it's hard, especially when no one notices. That's when your character is carved, when nobody's watching, but you show up anyway. When it doesn't feel exciting, but you choose discipline. When it's easier to hide, but you choose to lead yourself forward. It's in these quiet, unglamorous moments that strength takes root, the kind of strength that can't be faked, borrowed, or bought. The kind that comes only from keeping your word to yourself when no one else knows you made one. The world may be chaotic, but your response is your responsibility. That sentence could be your entire philosophy. It strips away excuses and hands you back control. You're not responsible for what comes at you, but you're absolutely responsible for what comes out of you. You can't dictate the wind, but you can trim your sails. You can't avoid all pain, but you can avoid wasting it. Your composure, resilience, and thoughts are your daily duty to shape and refine. They're not random or outside your influence. They're malleable, like clay in your hands. You choose what stays and what gets replaced. You decide what grows and what gets uprooted. No one else is thinking your thoughts. No one else is filtering your attention or managing your focus. That's your job. It's sacred work, the quiet labor of the soul. The most noble form of labor a person can engage in governing your inner world with courage and clarity. It's not glamorous. It won't get likes or retweets, but it will get you back, piece by piece, day by day. The Stoics would tell you that how you tend to your mind is the clearest reflection of your character. It's not how you speak in public, but how you think in private. It's not the mask you wear, but the muscle you train inside. It's your thoughts when you're alone, your self-talk when you fail, your discipline when no one will know. That's who you are. Guard it like a fortress. Shape it like a craftsman. Reclaim it like a warrior returning home. Fortify it with discipline. Furnish it with reason. Defend it with intention. Do it with patience, because mastery doesn't shout, it whispers through repetition. When you master your mind, you become sovereign in a world that rewards obedience to noise. You become your own anchor. You no longer follow the crowd, you follow your code. You become unshakable, clear, free. Freedom, in the Stoic sense, isn't escape's control, not of the world, but of yourself. Try this. Take 10 minutes each morning to sit in silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Sit with them like you'd sit with an old friend, not to judge or fix, but to listen. Observe them without resistance. Notice the patterns, the repetition, the quiet whispers of fear or hope you might usually ignore. In this silence, your true inner world begins to speak. Write down 3 thoughts that serve you, constructive, clarifying thoughts aligned with your principles. Then write down 3 that sabotage, yautjos that bring fear, self-doubt, or needless worry. Don't just acknowledge them, interrogate them. Ask where they came from. Are they rooted in fact or fear? Keep the helpful ones, strengthen them, return to them throughout the day. Question the harmful ones, challenge their authority, replace them with something better, something rooted in virtue and reason. Over time, this practice rewires your perception. Your mind becomes less reactive, more reflective. You start seeing through the noise. You master the art of attention. Do this daily, without fail. Watch how your mental environment shifts, not in dramatic bursts, but in steady, silent progress. This is how a Stoic begins the day, with awareness, clarity, and control. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. It's survival. In a world where attention is currency, wasting it on other people's drama is spiritual bankruptcy. The Stoics prized discipline not for the sake of perfection, but for the pursuit of clarity. They understood that a distracted mind is a defeated mind. You can't build a strong body while watching others lift weights. You can't write your own story while endlessly reading someone else's. And you certainly can't grow your soul by scrolling through the curated illusions of others' lives. Every ounce of energy you give to comparison is an ounce stolen from your own transformation. Every moment you spend consumed by someone else's path is a moment robbed from your own journey. Each glance toward another's success can become a blindfold over your own potential. The Stoic knows this. They don't chase after others' achievements. They chase after personal alignment. Watching others win doesn't train your resolve. Admiring someone else's strength won't make your own muscles grow. You must be your own standard, your own motivator, your own audience. Self-focus means redirecting your gaze inward. It means measuring yourself not against others, but against your own potential. Are you better today than you were yesterday? Are you thinking more clearly? Are you moving with more intention? These are the metrics of the Stoic. They are simple questions, yet they carry profound weight. They reorient you toward truth. The outside world urges you to compare. It tells you to measure your worth in likes, followers, and the highlight reels of strangers. But the Stoic urges you to clarify, to root yourself in who you are becoming, not who others appear to be. Real growth is quiet. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't announce itself with applause. It builds in the stillness, in the privacy of your own discipline. It is personal, it is internal, it is sacred, and it is invisible to those who only see performance. The only comparison that matters is the one between your past self and your present integrity. The only measurement that counts is whether you are living aligned, not just looking impressive. Discipline is not about doing the hard thing once. It's about doing the essential thing repeatedly. It's about choosing the path that serves you even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, and unnoticed. It is the commitment to yourself when no one is watching, when no one is praising, when no one is validating. It's about keeping your promise to yourself even when it feels like progress is invisible. It is the quiet repetition that builds greatness, the unseen hours, the small refinements, the deliberate returns to purpose when distraction tempts yuthas, are the building blocks of a disciplined life. Discipline is the structure beneath the surface, the invisible framework that makes you solid when life tests you, and it always will. Discipline is not reactive, it's proactive. It prepares you before the storm hits. It equips you to lead yourself when you are exhausted and uninspired. It's what keeps you grounded when chaos strikes and what keeps you ascending when inspiration fades. It's the invisible armor you wear when the world demands you fall apart. It's the voice that says again when you'd rather stop. It's the resilience that forms when you refuse to negotiate with excuses. It's the integrity you grow when you choose what is right over what is easy. Every time you obey that voice, you become stronger, not louder, not more popular, but stronger in the places that matter most, in courage, in consistency, in inner peace, in composure, in control, in character. That is the work. That is the way. That is the Stoic's path. It is a path defined not by ambition, but by alignment, not by noise, but by the clarity that only self-discipline can produce. It does not depend on external rewards or momentary spikes of motivation. It is not measured in claps, trophies, or posts. It is measured in resolve. It is the path of the one who rises not because of attention, but because of intention. The one who answers the silence with structure. A path walked not for applause, but for truth, not for spectators, but for the soul. It is quiet, it is deliberate, and it is hard, but it is the only path that leads to lasting peace. It does not change based on weather, moods, or trends. It remains like stone and demands that you carve yourself with patience against its resistance. Every step you take on that path strengthens you, even if it feels slow, even if it feels invisible, even if the results take longer than you hoped. Progress is not always loud, but it is always accumulating. Every time you resist distraction, you reinforce direction. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your integrity sharpens. Your character is molded in those small, thankless moments. The Stoic's path is not paved with comfort, but with courage. It is not decorated with praise, but anchored in principle. It asks you to be consistent when convenience fails, to act on values when your emotions rebel, to persist when motivation disappears. It does not ask for showmanship. It asks for strength. And every day you choose that path even when no one notices. Even when it feels like you're walking uphill in silence, you become more powerful. Not in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of your highest self. The version of you that you are becoming watches closely. It does not shout. It observes. It does not cheer. It remembers. And in that quiet observation, a deeper kind of respect is earned, self-respect. The only applause that echoes forever. It is the soundless standing ovation of a soul that knows it stayed true. It is the reward that cannot be taken, cannot be faked, and cannot be bottly earned. One disciplined day at a time. Set a time block each day called No Comparison Hour. During this hour, stay off social media. Reflect on your own growth. Journal your progress. Identify one area of weakness and set one small action to improve it. Keep that promise. Repeat daily. This is how discipline becomes identity. Most people are walking triggers. One comment, one look, one headline, and they spiral. One missed text, one rude glance, one piece of bad news, and suddenly their whole day is hijacked. Their mood shifts. Their focus dissolves. Their emotional balance shatters. Their mind becomes a hostage to an emotion they never stop to examine. The chain reaction is automatic and unconscious, but the Stoic is different. He does not react. He responds. He does not flinch in the face of chaos. He steps back, observes, and acts with clarity. He creates space between what happens and what he does about it. This is power, not the power to control the world, but the power to control himself within it. And in that control, he becomes immune to manipulation. Reactivity is the mark of the untrained mind. It is emotional slavery. It's what happens when your nervous system is your master and your mind is too quiet to intervene. It's what happens when external chaos becomes internal collapse. But to respond is to reclaim your throne. It is to say, I will not be ruled by external noise. I will not outsource my peace to random events. I will not allow the unpredictable world to dictate my predictable character. I will choose my response. I will move deliberately. I will not let life drag me. I will shape it. Response is not a delay. It is a declaration, a decision to pause, to think, to insert willpower where instinct used to be, to intervene before your emotions do damage that your reason must repair. Seneca taught, a wise man is content with himself, not because he does not wish for more, but because he has trained himself not to be shaken by less. This is not apathy. It is awareness. It is not indifference. It is influence. It is not that the Stoic does not feel. It is that he does not allow feelings to make his decisions. It is the understanding that between stimulus and response lies your freedom, and in that space is your power to choose. That is where your dignity lies. That is where your sovereignty begins. Will you be a puppet pulled by emotion or a person led by reason? Will you let every insult take root, or will you filter life through your values, not your wounds? When you move from reaction to response, you move from weakness to strength. You step out of the whirlpool of impulse and into the steadiness of principle. You shift from being a product of your environment to a producer of your behavior. Instead of echoing the chaos around you, you start broadcasting clarity. You stop being bounced around by life and start walking with authority. You begin to make decisions rooted in reason, not reflex. You stop apologizing for having standards and start embodying them without explanation, without hesitation. Your values are no longer suggestions. They are commands to yourself, lived out with intention. You become unshakable not because the world stopped shaking, but because you stopped being moved by it. Not because problems disappeared, but because your posture toward them changed. You are no longer easily provoked, thrown off course by temporary discomfort, or swayed by the unpredictable nature of others. You become the still point in a spinning world because your center is no longer up for negotiation. It's not swayed by opinion nor shaken by rejection. You've built a firewall around your clarity. That firewall guards your focus, your peace, your pace. And from that center, everything you do becomes intentional, not emotional, not impulsive, not desperate, but composed, deliberate, and rooted in control. You start leading your life instead of reacting to it. You no longer stumble from one emotional high to the next. You walk forward with clarity and composure. Every word, every action, every silence becomes a reflection of self-possession. Each choice reveals a person who governs themselves not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Self-governance becomes your daily discipline, and that control becomes your peace, a peace that does not demand calm circumstances, because it comes from your capacity to remain calm through any storm. It's a peace that doesn't beg the world to soften, but meets the world with sharpened focus. It does not retreat from difficulty, but endures with wisdom. That peace becomes your power, a power not flaunted but felt, not theatrical but steady. It's the kind of power that doesn't require validation or announcement. It speaks through consistency, a power that does not shout but sustains, a power that transforms you from within and radiates through everything you touch. It affects how you show up in your work, your relationships, and your challenges. It creates a quiet gravity. People sense it even if they can't name it. And that is the most powerful kind of strength, kind that doesn't need to prove itself, only to live in alignment with itself. When something triggers you, pause. Count to 10. Breathe. Feel the heat rising, the heart rate shifting, the old habits ready to take the wheel. This is the first gate of self-mastery, awareness. Then choose stillness. Even if the storm brews inside, choose not to be swept away. Become the observer instead of the reactor. Create space between the sensation and the decision. That space is your power. That space is where wisdom lives. Ask yourself with full presence, What is the most honorable way to respond? Not the loudest, not the fastest, not the one that feeds your ego, but the most honorable, the most composed, the most rooted in reason and aligned with the person you are becoming. Let your next move be a mirror of your highest self, not your lowest impulse. Then act not from impulse but from integrity, from vision, from principle, from your inner standard, not from social pressure. Act in a way that strengthens you, not weakens you, in a way that earns your own respect long after the moment has passed. Do this consistently, especially in moments when no one is watching, and your character will begin to sculpt itself. Like a chisel tapping against marble, each response carves a deeper definition of who you are. Slowly, precisely, permanently, not through performance, but through presence, not through show, but through substance. This is how the Stoic sharpens his edge, not in grand declarations, but in the quiet discipline of choosing control over chaos, wisdom over wrath, and direction over distraction. And with each moment mastered, you become the sculptor of your soul. There is a quiet desperation in those who feel unheard. The yearning to be seen, to be validated, to be understood by others can become a prison. The Stoics knew this. They taught that the need to be understood is often the enemy of understanding oneself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Don't waste the rest of your time here worrying about what other people do, unless it affects the common good. It will keep you from doing anything useful. What does it serve to beg for understanding from those who do not know themselves?" The path to peace is not paved with explanation. It is built through inner alignment. When you let go of the desire to be understood, you begin to understand yourself with greater clarity. When you stop seeking affirmation, your thoughts become more honest. When you release the obsession with others' perception, your actions become more authentic. You do not owe anyone your story. You owe yourself your growth. Your energy is not for constant clarification. It is for construction. Not everyone will understand your silence, your choices, your vision. Some will misread your discipline as distance, your focus as arrogance, your evolution as betrayal. That is not your burden to carry. You are not here to fit within their frame. You are here to build your own. You are not here to be explained. You are here to become someone who needs no defense, no validation, no approval. To become the kind of person whose presence speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Identify 3 things in your life that you've been over-explaining. Let go of the need to justify them. Write a single sentence of clarity for yourself about each one. Post it somewhere private. Let that be your new standard clarity for you, not approval from others. This shift is subtle but seismic. It frees up mental space that was once cluttered with the need to be seen in a certain light. It allows you to redirect that energy toward your own growth, your own principles, your own path. The Stoic does not waste breath on explanations that won't change minds. They invest that breath in actions that change themselves. This doesn't mean you become cold or dismissive. It means you become discerning. You share when it serves a purpose, when it builds connection or clarity for the common good. But you don't share out of desperation for validation. You don't explain to win approval. You live your truth quietly, letting your actions and consistency do the talking. Over time, those who matter will see you for who you are, not through your words, but through your way of being. And those who don't, their misunderstanding is not your responsibility to fix. Your responsibility is to keep walking your path with integrity, whether they see it or not. Letting go of the need to be understood is an act of trust in yourself. It's a declaration that your self-worth doesn't hinge on external interpretation. It's a commitment to knowing yourself so deeply that external misjudgments can't shake you. This is freedom. This is power. It's the power to move forward without needing to drag others along for validation. It's the power to stand alone in your truth, not out of defiance, but out of conviction. The Stoic knows that true understanding begins and ends within. When you master that, the need for external affirmation fades. You become your own witness, your own judge, your own compass. And in that space, you find a peace that no one else can give or take away. Excellence is often lonely. The top is not crowded. The journey to self-mastery requires a kind of solitude most people run from. It demands an inner stillness that most never cultivate. But the Stoics did not fear isolation. They embraced it. They used it to sharpen thought, deepen reflection, and clarify intention. Solitude was not an absence of connection. It was the presence of focus. It was the mental and spiritual space in which greatness could be forged. Epictetus lived much of his life as a slave, then a teacher, and always as a philosopher. His wisdom was not cultivated through social approval, but through silence and suffering. His strength was not validated by crowds, but by endurance. He said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The path of growth does not come with applause. It comes with doubt, confusion, and delay. It comes with seasons of invisibility. But in those unseen seasons, something powerful happens. Discipline deepens. Vision sharpens. The soul matures. Those who chase recognition rarely find purpose. Those who chase purpose often find themselves walking alone, but never aimless. They walk with quiet conviction. There is a deep power in solitude. When it is chosen, not feared, it becomes your forge. Your mind becomes your temple. Your spirit becomes unshaken. In solitude, you hear your real thoughts without interference. In solitude, you realign with your values without distortion. It is not emptiness. It is elevation. To focus on yourself, to rise beyond mediocrity, you must become comfortable with being misunderstood, misjudged, or ignored. You must learn to value progress over praise, integrity over attention. Greatness has always grown in silence, not in spectacle. The most powerful roots grow underground. Let yours grow in the quiet. Let them hold you firm when the world is loud. This is the price of excellence and the privilege of self-mastery. Schedule one day each week where you engage in focused solitude. Turn off all notifications. Speak only when necessary. During this time, reflect on your path, your purpose, and your habits. Make adjustments. Use that quiet to realign. Solitude is not punishment. It's preparation. The isolation of excellence is not about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about cutting out the noise that distracts you from your purpose. It's about creating space to hear your own voice above the chatter. It's about building a foundation so strong that external opinions can't shake it. The Stoic knows that true strength is often forged in the quiet moments, away from the crowd, away from the spotlight. It's in those moments that you refine who you are becoming. It's in those moments that you prepare for the challenges ahead, not by seeking comfort, but by seeking clarity. This solitude is where you confront your weaknesses without excuses. It's where you face your fears without distraction. It's where you build your resilience without an audience. And it's where you cultivate a kind of peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. The world may not see your progress in these quiet hours, but you will feel it. You will know the weight of your own effort, the depth of your own resolve. And that knowing is enough. It's more than enough. It's the foundation of a life lived with purpose, a life built on principle, a life that stands firm no matter who is watching or who is not. While others search for magic formulas and shortcuts, the Stoic builds armor with daily discipline. He does not seek to hack the process. He becomes the process. Nothing is more powerful than consistent sign at talent, not passion, not praise. Consistency is the great amplifier. The person who shows up again and again with resolve will outlast the one who waits for motivation. The one who acts even when it's mundane will surpass the one who waits for it to feel meaningful. Consistency is not a glamorous word. It lacks spark. It doesn't glitter or attract attention. But in Stoic philosophy, it is everything. Marcus Aurelius journaled daily not for applause but for alignment. Seneca wrote letters regularly not for fame but for refinement. Epictetus taught repetition of thought and principle not for novelty but for mastery. They knew that the mind, like the body, is sculpted through steady effort. You do not become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by doing the same meaningful thing again and again, until it becomes who you are. One of the greatest lies of the modern world is that your life must constantly change, improve, or become extraordinary. But the Stoic sees virtue in stability. The man who is the same in rain and sunshine, in silence and in storm is rare, and that rarity is his strength. He is not swayed by mood nor shifted by trend. He is not controlled by urgency nor addicted to excitement. He shows up not because he feels like it, but because he made a vow to his values. He knows that repetition builds identity, and identity directs destiny. You do not need new routines. You need better consistency. You do not need perfect days. You need repeated effort. Consistency is what builds the quiet power to endure, the mental muscle to continue, and the spiritual resolve to stay centered. Build a rhythm. Set a standard. Do not break it, not for failure, not for boredom, not for praise. Do it because it builds who you are. Do it because it keeps you anchored when life tempts you to drift. Do it because the only true shortcut is showing up daily without fail. Pick one action that supports your mental, physical, or spiritual strength. Do it daily. No negotiation. Track it. Do not let feeling decide for you. Let character lead. Over time, you'll find that the act is not what changes you, it's the discipline behind it. Consistency turns small actions into profound transformations. It turns fleeting intentions into lasting habits. It turns momentary effort into enduring strength. The Stoic knows that life is not won in grand gestures, but in the quiet accumulation of disciplined days. Each day you show up, you add a brick to your foundation. Each day you persist, you forge a link in the chain of your character. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable, that chain unbreakable. Consistency is your armor against the chaos of the world. It's what keeps you steady when everything else is in flux. It's what allows you to weather storms without losing your way. It's what turns potential into power, dreams into reality, weakness into strength. The world may not notice your daily efforts, but it will notice the person you become through them. And more importantly, you will notice. You will feel the weight of your own resolve, the depth of your own commitment. And that feeling is worth more than any external reward. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you've stayed true to yourself, day after day, no matter what. In an age of endless noise, silence is rebellion. In a world obsessed with self-expression, silence is power. To be silent is not to be invisible, it is to be sovereign. The Stoics practiced silence not as withdrawal, but as strength. A quiet man is often the most dangerous. He listens, thinks, and moves with clarity. He absorbs information before responding. He measures his words and withholds his reactions. His silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. His stillness is not avoidance, it is strategy. Seneca said, "Speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he. But the wise man knows when not to speak. He knows that truth does not shout. Virtue does not scream. Wisdom waits. It does not compete with noise. It makes space for deeper discernment. In a culture where everyone is speaking louder to be heard, the one who chooses silence speaks the loudest truth. For silence allows the soul to surface. It is in silence that a man hears his real thoughts, uncovers his real motives, and sharpens his real direction. Silence protects you from reacting. It buys you time. It preserves your energy. It shields you from saying what cannot be unsaid. It preserves your energy. It shields you from saying what cannot be unsaid. It guards your inner peace against the chaos of impulsive words. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of control. It's a deliberate choice to hold back when the world demands you react, to listen when others rush to speak, to observe when others leap to judge. In a society that equates volume with value, choosing silence is an act of defiance. It's a refusal to be dragged into the noise, a rejection of the need to prove yourself through endless chatter. The Stoic understands that words, once spoken, are arrows released, you cannot call them back. So, they choose their shots with precision, or they choose not to shoot at all. Silence is a weapon of the wise. It disarms those who seek to provoke you, confounds those who expect a reaction, and empowers you to maintain your center. When you are silent, you are not at the mercy of others' words or emotions. You are the master of your own response. You create a space where clarity can emerge, where reason can take root before emotion overruns it. This is why Marcus Aurelius often retreated into his own thoughts, journaling in solitude, speaking only when necessary. His silence was not weakness, it was a fortress. It allowed him to process the weight of ruling an empire, without being swayed by every passing opinion or crisis. His quiet was his strength, his stillness his strategy. Silence also teaches you to listen not just to others, but to yourself. In the absence of external noise, you hear the undercurrents of your own mind. You notice the fears you've ignored, the desires you've suppressed, the truths you've avoided. Silence forces you to confront what you've been running from, and in that confrontation, you grow. It strips away the distractions and leaves you with the raw material of your soul. It's uncomfortable at first, even painful. But over time, it becomes a sanctuary. It becomes the place where you rebuild yourself, piece by piece, thought by thought, without the interference of the world's endless clamor. Practice silence as a discipline. Set aside moments each day to be still. Turn off the notifications, step away from the conversations, and resist the urge to fill the void with noise. Sit with yourself. Let your thoughts wander, then gently guide them back to center. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding by staying busy? What truth am I not ready to face? In these quiet moments, you'll find answers that no amount of talking can uncover. You'll find a strength that doesn't need to announce itself, a power that doesn't need to be validated. Silence is not just a pause, it's a practice. It's a way of being that anchors you when everything else is in flux. The world may interpret your silence as weakness, indifference, or aloofness. Let them. Their misinterpretation is not your burden. Your silence is your shield, your space to think, to heal, to strategize. It's your refusal to be pulled into every petty drama or fleeting argument. It's your commitment to preserving your energy for what truly matters. Over time, your silence will speak louder than words ever could. It will reveal a person who is not easily shaken, not easily provoked, not easily distracted. It will show a person who values depth over display, substance over spectacle. That is the Stoics' wake-white, deliberate, unshakable. Indifference, in the Stoic sense, is not coldness or apathy. It's liberation. It's the freedom that comes from releasing your attachment to things you cannot control. The Stoics called this apatheia, a state of being untroubled by external events. Not because you don't care about life, but because you care deeply about what you can influence, your own thoughts, actions, and character. Epictetus put it bluntly, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. When you stop obsessing over what others think, what others do, or what others have, you reclaim your mental sovereignty. You stop being a prisoner to circumstances and start being a creator of your own peace. This indifference is not about shutting down your emotions or turning away from the world. It's about discerning where to place your energy. It's about recognizing that most of what agitates you people's opinions, random setbacks, societal pressures is outside your control. To dwell on these is to waste your life. Instead, the Stoic focuses on what is within their grasp, their response, their effort, their integrity. They let go of the need to control the uncontrollable and double down on mastering themselves. This is not resignation, it's redirection. It's not giving up, it's waking up to what truly matters. When you embrace this kind of indifference, you stop taking things personally. Someone's harsh words, they reflect more about their state of mind than about your worth. A missed opportunity, it's a detour, not a dead end. A wave of criticism, it's noise, not truth, unless you choose to make it so. Indifference allows you to step back and see these events for what they are, temporary, external, and often irrelevant to your deeper purpose. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of reacting to every slight, every failure, every judgment. It gives you the space to breathe, to think, to act with intention rather than impulse. Try this. The next time something upsets you, pause and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. Write it down if you must, then physically tear up the paper as a symbol of release. If the answer is yes, focus only on the action you can take, not the emotion you feel. This simple practice rewires your mind over time. It trains you to separate what matters from what merely distracts. It builds a mental filter that keeps out the irrelevant and sharpens your focus on the essential. Indifference becomes your armor against the trivial, your shield against the petty, your path to unshakable calm. This freedom is transformative. It unshackles you from the opinions of others, the whims of fate, the chaos of the world. It allows you to live on your own terms, guided by reason rather than reaction. You become less fragile, less dependent on external validation, less swayed by temporary storms. You start to see life not as a series of threats to your ego, but as a series of opportunities to test your character. Indifference, in this Stoic sense, is not a wall between you and the world, it's a window through which you see reality more clearly. It's the lens that reveals what's worth your time and what's not. And in that clarity, you find freedom, The Stoics often spoke of the inner citadel, a mental fortress where you retreat to find strength, clarity, and peace no matter what rages outside. This citadel is not a physical place, it's a state of mind, a sanctuary of reason and virtue that you build through daily practice. Marcus Aurelius described it as a refuge. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Within this citadel, the noise of the world fades. The judgments of others lose their sting. The chaos of life becomes a distant murmur. Here you are sovereign. Here you are safe not from pain, but from being defined by it. Building your inner citadel starts with self-awareness. You must know your weaknesses, your triggers, your patterns. You must map the terrain of your mind with honesty, identifying the cracks where doubt creeps in, the gates where fear enters, the walls where anger builds. This is not a what-I'm task. It's a lifelong discipline. Each day, you inspect your fortress. Each day, you reinforce it with reflection, with deliberate thought, with choices that align with your values. You fortify it by questioning your assumptions, by challenging your reactions, by replacing destructive habits with constructive ones. You build it brick by brick, thought by thought, decision by decision. Meditation, journaling, and quiet contemplation are the tools of this construction. Spend time each morning fortifying your mind. Visualize your citadel, a place of strength, order, and calm. See yourself retreating there when life tests you. Imagine the walls standing firm against criticism, the towers rising above petty drama, the gates closing to distraction. Remind yourself of your core principles: courage, temperance, justice, wisdom. Let these be the pillars of your fortress. When the day throws challenges at you, return to this mental space. Ground yourself in it. Let it remind you who you are, not who the world wants you to be. Your inner citadel is also a place of preparation. Within its walls, you train for life's inevitable battles. You rehearse how you'll respond to anger, to failure, to loss. You practice patience, resilience, and restraint. You prepare not to avoid hardship, but to meet it with composure. The Stoic knows that life is a series of tests, and the citadel is where you sharpen your weapons: your reason, your discipline, your perspective. It's where you remind yourself that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's where you learn to see obstacles not as threats, but as teachers. Over time, this citadel becomes your default state. You no longer need to retreat to it consciously. You live from it naturally. It becomes the lens through which you see the world, the foundation from which you act. It protects you not by shielding you from reality, but by equipping you to face it with clarity and strength. It ensures that no matter what happens outside, you remain steady inside. Build it daily. Guard it fiercely. Live from it always. Your inner citadel is your greatest asset, your truest home, your ultimate power. Self-reliance is the ultimate Stoic virtue. It's the culmination of all the principles we've explored: discipline, indifference, silence, ownership, response over reaction. It's the realization that no one is coming to save you, and that's not a tragedy, it's an opportunity. It's the understanding that your life is your responsibility, your growth is your mission, your peace is your creation. The Stoic does not wait for the world to align with their desires. They align themselves with reality and build from there. They do not seek rescue, they become their own refuge. They do not demand support, they become their own strength. Self-reliance is not about isolation or arrogance. It's about accountability. It's about knowing that while others can inspire, guide, or challenge you, no one can walk your path for you. No one can think your thoughts, make your choices, or bear your burdens. And no one should. Your struggles are your teachers. Your failures are your lessons. Your victories are your proof. To rely on yourself is to trust in your capacity to endure, to adapt, to overcome. It's to believe in your ability to rise, even when you fall, to rebuild, even when you break, to continue, even when you're weary. This self-reliance leaves a legacy not just for others, but for yourself. It's the legacy of a life lived with intention, a character forged with integrity, a soul shaped by resilience. It's the legacy of someone who didn't wait for permission, who didn't beg for validation, who didn't crumble under pressure. It's the legacy of someone who stood firm in their values, who walked their path with clarity, who built their inner citadel brick by brick until it became an unshakable fortress. This legacy isn't measured in wealth, fame, or applause. It's measured in the quiet knowing that you lived true to yourself, that you became the person you were meant to be, that you faced life's storms with courage and emerged stronger. Start small. Take one area of your life where you've been dependent on others' approval or help. Commit to handling it on your own for a week. Solve the problems yourself. Make the decisions yourself. Reflect on the results. Adjust. Repeat. Over time, this practice builds a muscle of self-reliance that grows stronger with every challenge. It teaches you that you are capable, that you are enough, that you don't need the world to hold your hand, you need only to trust your own grip. The Stoics' legacy is not one of noise or spectacle. It's one of quiet power, of enduring strength, of unshakable peace. It's the legacy of someone who understood that nobody cares as much as they do. And instead of resenting that truth, they used it as fuel. They turned it into the fire that forged their character, the light that guided their path, the warmth that sustained their soul. They became their own hero, their own compass, their own home. And in doing so, they left behind a life that speaks for itself, a life of purpose, of principle, of power. We've come full circle. The truth that nobody cares about your life as much as you do is not a curse, it's a gift. It's the key to your freedom, the spark of your potential, the foundation of your strength. When you accept that the world isn't watching, isn't waiting, isn't invested, you stop performing and start becoming. You stop seeking and start building. You stop waiting and start walking. The absence of an audience is not the absence of meaning. It's the presence of opportunity. It's the space where you can shape yourself without pressure, grow without judgment, rise without expectation. The Stoics taught us to live for our own reason, to build our own peace, to rely on our own resolve. They showed us that true power doesn't come from external validation, but from internal alignment. It doesn't come from being seen, but from being solid. It doesn't come from others caring, but from you caring enough to become who you're meant to be. So let the world be indifferent. Let it scroll past. Let it forget. Because in that indifference, you find your power. In that silence, you find your voice. In that solitude, you find your strength. Take this truth and wield it. Stop waiting for the world to notice and start noticing yourself. Stop asking for permission and start giving it to yourself. Stop looking for rescue and start being your own refuge. Build your inner citadel. Walk your disciplined path. Live your principled life. Do it not for applause, but for alignment. Do it not for recognition, but for resilience. Do it not because anyone cares, but because you do. That's the unspoken truth. That's your unspoken power. Use it. Live it. Become it. And in doing so, create a life that doesn't need to be seen to be felt, a life that stands as a testament to the quiet, enduring strength of a soul that dared to rely on itself. If this message resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that will help you create the life you truly deserve. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.